Welcome in to another edition of the JMU Sports News Podcast. I'm Bennett Conlon, joined by Jack Fitzpatrick. And it's kind of a sad March for the Dukes.
What do you mean? Did women's basketball suffer a heartbreaking loss, and men's basketball didn't even win the one game that they were playing in down in Pensacola?
11-0 start, and the game was just over for the men pretty much immediately.
I turned it on. I was like, I see. We're back to early Sunbelt ways.
That's tough. Yeah, it would have been cool if in the semifinals they could have kept drawing like those 300 KenPom teams. It's unfortunate sort of the formatting there. And I do think they need to look at that, the Sunbelt, in terms of the tournament format.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all the madness. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to a $200,000 bracket contest, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.
Let's just start right off the top. This wasn't in the outline, but I do need to get your take on this. Sunbelt Conference tournament setup. Was it a success or was it not a success? Because a lot of JMU fans are upset saying that the 9-day layoff hurt JMU's chances to win a game.
Yeah, pretty big failure, I think, on part of the Sunbelt. Pretty much everything should be used to funnel JMU teams into NCAA tournaments. So any format that doesn't do that properly is broken. No, it's not the layoff. It's like they played a good team for the first time in weeks, and it didn't go well, which kind of checks out.
I think I've mentioned this book now on the podcast before, but it's a really good book called Scorecasting, and it breaks down like myths in sports. Like, is it true that when a shooter hits 3 straight threes, they're all of a sudden hot? Mm-hmm. They're in the zone. Is rust a real thing when you have a layoff? All of the numbers from like large sample sizes over multiple years of data points say that rust does not exist. It's just that JMU played a very good Troy team who then beat them. And it doesn't matter that Troy played the night before. If anything, that would hurt Troy playing with tired legs. Also, JMU, their best player is Mark Freeman, who's old. He wants the layoff. He wants the time to not be playing in back-to-back-to-back games. The tournament worked. The tournament, at the end of the day, got the 2 best teams in for women's basketball and got the 2 best teams into the championship game for men's basketball, which was the overall point.
Yeah, it favors the teams that have a good regular season, which makes sense. JMU, I think, was maybe there was some fool's gold, right, with how they played at the end of the season. It came up and it sort of bit them. The fact that they had just beaten really, really good teams or really bad teams for a lot of the season. And then the good teams they beat narrowly at home. So you put it on a neutral and it becomes a kind of a much different story, especially if they aren't shooting well, because that defense just simply was not going to be good.
Yeah, that was the other point I was going to say. They beat up on really bad teams at the end of their Sunbelt season, and they just so happened to get the best Sunbelt teams at home where JMU actually played well. So like the schedule was prime for JMU to be a top 2 seed. I will say the one failure in the Sunbelt on the men's basketball side is that they did this to favor the teams who had better regular seasons, and it kind of bit them that there was like a 4-way tie for first. And so
yeah, they got to figure something out with scheduling to make sure like everyone plays each other at some point. Or
because technically,
not balanced.
Arkansas State was a better team than JMU. They just had that one loss head-to-head. So, and they had a loss head-to-head to Troy. So the best team in predictive metrics, granted, we can now say Troy's the best team because they beat Arkansas State on a neutral head-to-head. But that team ends up being the 4th seed rather than a top 2 seed, which Arkansas State probably should have been. But that's the only one flaw in their setup, because JMU plays Arkansas State on the women's side for the first time all season.
That was weird. Yeah. So it's a little bit strange how they've got everything set up, but I think it makes sense with the actual bracket. I think the regular season is maybe a little more confusing, but JMU just didn't play well enough, especially on the men's side.
And then on the women's side, we'll lead today with women's basketball suffering a heartbreaking loss to Arkansas State, had a 17-point lead, lost in overtime, another year, another heartbreaking overtime loss, another year, another example of the team's inability to break a press.
Yeah, that's alarming, right? A team just throws on a press in desperation and they start turning the ball over and rushing, and it gets ugly kind of quick.
You know what's another alarming thing? Is that Arkansas State forced JMU to take Kozlova off the floor. Like, you're arguably your second best player can just be game planned out because the team who's down by 17 decides to go small.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah. It was bad. I mean, it was a really bad, heartbreaking finish because I think this is one of the best teams. I was saying I think it's the best team Coach O had. Sort of lose in the championship game stinks, but to lose after going up 40-23 is a real heartbreaker. They just played a really bad offensive second half, wasn't consistent enough, rushing, missing shots, and then just like inexplicably going away from McDaniel on a lot of key possessions where like she wouldn't even get a touch. Despite having 24 points and 11 rebounds, she shot 45% from the floor, 50% from three. She was 4 of 8 from three. The rest of the team was 2 of 16. Like, I just don't understand how they went away from her as much as they did. It really didn't make any sense. I mean, it's kind of a devastating loss for them, given how well they played all season long, given how well they had played in the first half of this game. It just it didn't work out. Now they're, firmly on the bubble, which 28-5, you like to take advantage of winning a conference championship. If you go 19-1 in every conference game you play throughout the season, you would hope that the one would not be in the conference tournament final.
that is the toughest thing about this entire, like, you won 19 straight conference games and you lost the one that matters by far the most.
With
Currently,
a 17-point lead.
With God. First 4 out currently, according to Charlie Cream, ESPN's women's basketball bracketologist. Virginia Tech, St. Joseph's, UNLV, James Madison. So they are firmly on the bubble with like a 55 net.
You never know what'll happen, right? Maybe the committee likes them and puts them in. You don't know. So it's possible they get in. If they don't, they're going to be, in the WBIT. They've already clinched an automatic berth for that, which would be fun because they would have a chance to make a legit run there. So it's not the end of the world, but it's also one where, like, you just got to go get it, man. You got to win that game. You got to capitalize on this season. Coach O's got one NCAA tournament appearance.
Yes.
That's crazy given how good they've been.
I think Dom was texting us 4 regular season titles, 1 and 3 in conference championship games. And that one game, which I've seen a lot of JMU fans bring up on Twitter, just so happened to be the game where Peyton McDaniel touched the face of the earth, face of the sun, touched the face of the earth too, because her shots were just, but just was red hot and couldn't miss. And that was the only one they've won. The other CAA / Sunbelt championships was the loss last year to Marshall in overtime. This year's loss in overtime. And I believe the other loss was 2016 with Precious Hall against Elon.
Yeah, they lost that one in the championship. And then one that wasn't in the championship, though, where they went 17-1 and then had those weird injuries and lost to the quarterfinals, and then like just some insane finishes here.
And then
to not
COVID
make
year,
tournaments.
the COVID year, that team. Granted, that team may have lost the most important game in the championship too. We've no clue. And honestly, with the track record and with the data, maybe I'm getting a little too worked up here, but with the track record and data, I don't think you can just assume they would have won the CAA tournament that year.
Probably not, given the recent results.
You lose it 75% of the time. No, I didn't do the math right. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, the 1 and 3.
Yeah, 75%.
Yeah, I mean that's just a huge.
I was doing inverse math while also trying to. So 75% of the time you lose.
So here are the conference records of teams that haven't won.
Am I going to get mad?
Yeah, conference tournament under Coach O. 15-3 regular season, 16-2, 17-1, 16-2. That was a COVID cancellation. 13-5, and then now 18-0. And all those groups were unable to do it. You've got a bunch of runner-ups in there, semifinals in there, quarterfinals in there. It's just tough. I mean, if you're winning, 15, 16, 17, 18 regular season games and then not finishing the job in like a mid to low major league, it's hard to wrap your head around.
Here's the question. Would you rather be like a consistent 4 seed, 5 seed in the Sun Belt in the CAA, which means you're probably losing 5 to 7 conference games a year, but he's 2-2 in championship games?
No, I would still take this, I think, to be honest. Like, I think the sustained success, you can't look over that. Like, they've been really phenomenal a lot of seasons, sort of outside of that, like, post-COVID lull that they had. But they've been really, really good the last few years and then early in Coach O's tenure. And I still think winning regular season games, winning conference games is a big deal. So I'm impressed by that. It's just crazy that they haven't gotten the job done. And the WBIT, which was, I guess, kind of the WNIT, and then they did a weird rebrand, but there still is a WNIT. It's very confusing. But those like second tier tournaments, making runs in those is kind of fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Here's the thing when going into the WBIT. Yeah, it's weird. The WBIT is what the WNIT was. So the WBIT is what we all think of when we think WNIT. Right. However, in the absence of a WNIT, another tournament became the WNIT. So there is still a WNIT. However, that is not what used to be the WNIT. That is the WBIT. All that to say,
yes,
if they make it to the WBIT, it's championship or bust. Like, and I'm
a Final Four. I'll say Final Four.
Like, make it to the Final Four, make it to the championship game. That would be fun. And that would make up for this. But if you bow out in the round of 16 or whatever it may be, like, this season feels lost.
It's tough. I mean, it's really, really tough. If it's an early WBIT exit after the way they played this year, it would be brutal. Now, if they get in the NCAA tournament, if in their like the last 4 in, they get like a play-in game against a Virginia Tech kind of school, dream.
Fun. That's
sweet. Like that would end up being incredible. But if they get left out, it's going to hurt a lot because they had an incredible season. They also had a couple opportunities where, like, if you keep it closer against Notre Dame or Texas, or maybe if you finish the job against Northern Arizona, another
game where you blew a lead.
Yeah, so if you're able to close some of those, or like NC State, they ended up losing by 14. If that's one they had kept closer or even pulled an upset, definitely a different story. So they did have opportunities. And then I know there's some talk about like, hey, what's a mid-major supposed to do? Like, if they can't even get an at-large with this kind of resume. Well, for one, it would be not get like doubled up by Texas. Like that's not, or Notre Dame, and then Texas blew them out by 30. Like that's not helping you. The fact that they have a bad quad one record. And then number two, like, what's a mid-major supposed to do? Mid-majors aren't like going to get a ton of at-larges. You know that going in. Get a 17-point lead in the conference championship game.
What's a mid-major supposed to do? What's a mid-major supposed to do? Close out a 17-point lead? I don't know. Call me crazy.
Ask a team that was 19-0 in Sun Belt games previously. Like 17-point lead, close to halftime. You cannot draw up a better situation for your team.
Yes.
So like, you can't get mad at the committee if the committee leaves them out. That's on solely on them.
And it's super painful that now 3 years in a row, I know the season hasn't ended, but like a trophy was either been taken away for him or a historic win for the program has been taken away because they couldn't figure out how to break a press. Ohio State, you have a 20 points, maybe 18-point lead at halftime. They decide, let's just press them. because we have nothing else going for us. And they all of a sudden win by like 20. It was one of the most devastating flips of a script I've ever watched as a basketball fan. Last year, Marshall just, that was, they're aggressive. Good for Kim Caldwell. I mean, that system is just insane, but couldn't figure out how to break that after playing them twice in the regular season. They played them twice.
Not even so much like, oh man, we're struggling with this. 39 turnovers. Like that's a level of flummox that you shouldn't be able to process. 39.
And then this year, you build a 17-point lead against Arkansas State. And then all of a sudden, they're like, all right, our backs are against the wall. Time to put on a press. And then they just crumbled. And then their shot selection got just really wacky. And the decision-making got really wacky. And I'm not here to armchair coach, but why are you taking that timeout with 15 seconds on the shot clock? Why is that not cross half court?
That was weird.
Call an immediate timeout. Why is that I don't know if it was a drawn up 3-pointer from Hazel, but the game's tied.
Probably not, right?
If it was, there's some questions there, but like,
yeah,
it's a tie game at that point.
Go to the
you
rim.
have the conference player of the year. Your offense is on the floor. So like put in Kozlova, who's one of the best post players in the conference. Like I understand maybe you don't have her out on the court because she can't guard the quicker guards that are out there for Arkansas State on the defensive side. But here's the last 20 seconds of the game. Let's get our best 5 out there and draw up a play that's close to the rack. And instead it was an off-balance, moving 3-pointer from Hazel coming off of a Peyton McDaniel screen.
Yeah, it was confusing when 30 seconds left in the game, 15 seconds on the shot clock. They let the shot clock get down to 15. They come out of the timeout that they've called, and they run a set that like is slow developing, and they rush a shot. It's like you did that to yourself. That's what it felt like a lot throughout this game, is that they did some stuff to themselves. And credit to Arkansas State for making the comeback, but really, if you're that good and you have a 17-point lead, you should be able to close it. So that's going to hurt. I know they're probably more upset than any fans are, but it's a bummer. It's a huge bummer.
So they'll anxiously await for Sunday, sitting on pins and needles. The bubble as it stands, Iowa State, Washington, Princeton, Harvard are the last 4 in. Virginia Tech, St. Joseph's, James Madison, UNLV are the first 4 out.
Is the Ivy League going to be a 3-bid league? Is that what that? Does Columbia get in?
That'd be insane. All right, Ivy. I mean, the A10, the Atlantic 10 is going to be potentially a 3-bid league too. St. Joseph's is sitting there strongly on the bubble.
Yeah, and also the other thing that would have helped is if like any team in the Sun Belt decided not to suck. Yeah, like there's literally no like.
Well, and it also sucks, man. Here, this is a good segue into the Sun Belt idiocy of their scheduling. Imagine a regular season win over Arkansas State. I'm not saying like that's going to massively help their bubble chances, but it may have them.
Yeah,
it would help them maybe a little bit. Instead of being on the first 4 out, they're the 3rd out, right above UNLV. Maybe if they make that, they're the first out of the first 4 out.
Yeah, but it hurts.
But then the stupid Sunbelt scheduling is like, actually, we're not going to do that. Actually, you're going to play these teams twice in a 2-day period. And then when you're not doing that, then you're going to, it's just stupid. I hate it.
It's really just a disappointing end to what was an incredible regular season. So we'll see where they end up in the postseason. They've got a chance to kind of right the ship a little bit. Like if you go out and win a WBIT title, pretty cool. If you end up getting in, great.
This season deserves a banner.
Gotta have
a banner.
Something. Yep.
A banner is raised for an NCAA tournament appearance. A banner is raised for a WBIT Final Four, and a banner is raised for a WBIT championship. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that counts. Some of it, technically just adding years to a banner that exists.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
All I guess you gotta bring the banner down and put the years on. So the banner.
Exactly. I don't think we have a WBIT championship banner though.
Definitely not, right?
I don't think so.
Maybe a WNIT. No, they haven't even won that, have they?
I don't think so.
Yeah, see? So, okay, that would be history.
Speaking of history, men's basketball has the chance to be the CBI champions.
It sounded like they were good being done, which I'm good with.
Man. Oh, man. I really wanted a CBI championship.
No.
Why not? CBI is fun.
Resources, man. Just get in the portal. In the portal, get some guys for next year.
We've seen what Ron Sanchez has been able to do after winning a CBI.
That's true. He's made comments about, like, basketball's not all about winning kind of stuff that definitely screams, I'm keeping this job.
You've seen Ryan Odom is like the leading candidate to go to UVA.
That checks out. Wasn't he like a little UVA ball boy or something as a kid?
I think, but imagine, I just can't see UVA fans happily watching him be on their sidelines as a constant reminder of the 16 seed winning.
Full circle. That is pretty funny, though.
All right, JMU men's basketball, they fell in the semis to Troy. Wasn't a great showing. Kind of just cold from the floor. Mark Freeman went off in the second half, nearly willed them back into the game, but JMU fell short and Troy just pulled away late. And just, I don't even remember the final score. I put it out of my memory because it was
79 to 60. Bring it back. Put it back in your memory. Baby.
No, I remember now why I put that game out of my mind. 79. That is a tough final score.
I also don't fully understand, like, and sometimes this happens, but Troy just sort of cooked, like, in the conference tournament. They won all 3 games by double digits. They beat Arkansas State by 13 in the championship and scored 94 as, like, pretty clearly a better defensive team than offensive team. So, like, they just kind of had, like, a sweet week in Pensacola. Good for them.
That one guy, I think his name was Fields. He hit, like, 3 or 4 threes. And, like, I think all season he had hit 10, and 5 of those came in one game. So, like, just not a 3-point shooter. Just was like, all right, today I'm going to shoot 75% from long range.
Very strange. He's been like, he doesn't shoot many threes, but he was hitting a ton of them. And he had struggled prior to that point. He was just like, I'm a shooter now, which is unfortunate. Very unfortunate, really.
Yeah, bad time for him to figure out that, I'm a shooter now. But so, yeah, their season probably done. Probably won't get an NIT bid and will decline. Do you think they would take an NIT bid? I know they don't technically get one, but we're going to see a lot of teams turn
they would definitely
down.
Take one.
Okay.
I think.
But you don't think they take a CBI?
No, I think an NIT is still a good level above. That's got a little
juice.
Little juice. Yeah, I think the juice is fading year by year, but it has more juice, I think, than a CBI.
Okay. So we'll see. That'll happen on Sunday night.
Big shout out Mark Freeman too. Just another round of applause for Mark, because really unbelievable stuff. Man, he was a one-man wrecking crew in that game. His backcourt partners didn't really help him, which was not great. Just a bad shooting night for everyone who wasn't named Mark Freeman, who he put up 34 of their 60. Like, what?
He was so good. He really not developed, but like when he found the rhythm about midway through the season, we talk a lot about JMU taking advantage of a weak part of their schedule, but it was also coincided with the fact that Mark Freeman found a rhythm and coming off of the bench all of a sudden became like the 6th man of the year. Bryce Lindsey won that award, but Mark Freeman was the best 6th man. He just wasn't playing that role for as long as Bryce Lindsey was. And Freeman was massive in JMU's kind of win streak, turning the corner and getting a top 2 seed in the Sun Belt tournament.
Yeah, I'm going to miss that guy.
Don't think he'll ever pay for a beer in Harrisonburg. If you see Mark Freeman at 3 Notched or any of the local breweries or bars, make sure he's not paying his tab.
And hopefully we'll see him soon. I don't know how much Mark Freeman will be in Harrisonburg in the future, but hope he's there sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, he's got to come back for like homecoming, right? Here's a question.
Went to
In
like 4 schools.
In the transfer day and age, which homecoming do you think he's going to?
I don't know, man. He might not have any reason to come back.
Morehead
If
State.
Spradlin takes a P power job,
He's going to their homecoming.
yeah, he just follows Preston around. He's a Spradlin guy.
So looking at this roster going into next season, because it's never too early to talk roster construction
Never too early.
in the transfer portal era. Is there any way in hell they keep Bryce Lindsey?
Probably not, but I mean, maybe. Seems like he has a good relationship with Spradlin, so maybe you get one more year out of him and convince him that, like, hey, you're going to cook again. But in terms of like pure scoring, I imagine he would get a lot of interest in the portal just because he can fill it up.
Here's another question for you. If they keep Bryce, even if they don't keep Bryce Lindsey, which I think the collective should do everything they can to try and keep Bryce Lindsey, bringing in Preston Fowler, bringing in Christian Brown, 2 top-end recruits, 2 of the better recruits JMU's ever had. Do you think this team is immediately a competitor next year with 2 freshmen, Bryce Lindsey, maybe Xavier Brown if Xavier Brown stays? Do you think they're an immediate competitor next year?
I think they'll be good because they still, like Ricks, AJ Smith, have years of eligibility left. Justin Taylor maybe builds into a bigger role or just becomes like a bench guy if he stays. And then Will Loving Watts showed some ability when he was given some minutes. So, like, they have some guys they can build around. Spradlin seems like he knows how to use the portal. I think he just needs to construct like maybe a more cohesive roster. On paper, it looked really, really good. And we watched the Ohio game to open the season. We were like, this is it. This is the team. But I think the reason I got so excited about the Ohio game is because they were scoring at a crazy clip. And I just assumed that, like, given his background, the defense would click at some point. It just never clicked. So they got to figure something out. They got to get some guys either to play better defense next year, or they got to get a couple guys in the portal who like change what they can do defensively.
They need Elijah Hutchins Everett was very good. Ebenezer Dewana showed flashes, but wasn't, I don't think, what we expected out of him. 2 seniors though, so they're gone. So your 2 big men need to be replaced. And I think that's a huge, huge, huge hole for this team. I'm going to be really intrigued to see if they go, and I don't think they will, if they go the route of power conference players coming down or getting low major guys to come up. Because I think similar to what we saw Chesney do when he first got there, it's such a whirlwind. You have to put together a roster. You're just grasping at people. Like Hutchins Everett was Seton Hall. Ebenezer Dewana was Georgia Tech. You bring them in. You get your own guy in Mark Freeman. You get your own guy in Eddie Ricks. And then Noah Williams, a Pac-12 player. Bryce Lindsey, an SEC player. Lindsey worked out well. Noah Williams showed flashes. But I think if you're with the time that they'll have this offseason, if they're able to really sink their teeth into maybe, a guy from a mid-level A-Sun team could potentially step in and be very good.
Yeah, I like that strategy. You see Drake brought like that Division II coach and like all these D2 players, and they're 30-3 and go in the NCAA tournament. It's like, so give me some of these. Yeah, give me some lower level guys. Pull the Chesney thing. Those FCS guys you're bringing up.
D2 guys.
I want some guys who have produced.
Because look, if you're a shooter, the basket's the same at the Division II level as it is the Division I level. Now, you might have to really figure out how to play defense at the Division I level.
We need some dogs on D. Bad.
So maybe this idea that I'm having right now isn't the best, but like if you need a shooter, shooters shoot and shooters translate.
I mean, he's had
you gotta get some dogs. You gotta get some
great defenses before.
He's also really good at identifying talented bigs.
Yeah.
Eddie Ricks was like an undersized 4 when he was at Morehead State, kind of played like the 3-4-ish for JMU this year. Would like to see him slot more in as a 3 rather than an undersized 4 because he could shoot the 3 pretty well. But like Broom for Auburn, one of the best players in the nation, was a Preston Spradlin recruit. So I have high hopes for Fowler and Christian Brown.
Yeah, I will say too, the other thing that's like kind of exciting about the whole process is that like it's not quite football where like Chesney might be 2 and done. Withers was 2 and done. Like some of these guys leave pretty quickly. They had Byington for 4 seasons. Spradlin spent like 7 or 8 years at Moorhead. So you've got a little time to build. It's not like you need these like immediate turnarounds in like low major college hoops. So like give him some time. I think 20 and 12 is plenty respectable for his first season. It's a 20-win season. They're great at home. Fine. Absolutely fine. And then just keep building on it because you just want to get to the NCAA tournament and be kind of a, like a 12 seed that can win a game like Byington had him in year 4. If you can do that at some point in your first 5 years, most people are good with that because they still have to build this program up to the point where it's like a legit mid-major power.
Yeah.
And they're not particularly close yet, but I think maybe they could get there. But you look at like a VCU and that history.
Yeah.
You know it. It's not what JMU has right now.
No, not at all. You go into the Siegel Center and it's just like, oh, this is a sellout crowd on a Friday night in like the capital of Virginia. Like there are other things to do here.
Yes.
You go into, and JMU fans have come a long way because I remember going to JMU basketball games in the Lewis Rowe era, and it was 5 people and the pep band, and you could hear everything each coach was saying. Now it is a very, very good turnout. But you go to a game on a Friday, Saturday night in Harrisonburg, and you're like, okay, we're like at 75% capacity. The whole upper bowl is still empty. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're the Siegel Center. You go in and you're like, oh, this place is packed. Just from a fan perspective, like a fan support perspective.
We're 29th in Ken Palm. Like we would probably both shit ourselves if JMU got to 29th in Ken Palm in the next, right? Like even last year, weren't they around like 50 or 60? I can't remember what they.
And we were shitting ourselves then.
They ended 63rd. They went into the game with Wisconsin 59th, and we were like, this team is everything. So VCU's 30 spots better than that. So yeah, they've got a long way to go. Last year was obviously incredible, but it's 1 year. They got to start stacking wins. So getting 20 wins is at least a good baseline.
Yeah, just if you go into the year with the standard being 20 wins, if that's the standard is the standard, I think that's a very fair standard. I think that's a very fair thing to hold them to. And hey, look, Bennett, they made it to the Sun Belt semis.
They did. They earned their way there with a good regular season. So credit where credit is due.
I was more so making a joke that they made it to the semis because they didn't have to win a game.
No, I got you. That part, it does feel a little bit like if they had the usual system and won a quarterfinal game and then lost in the semis, it would feel different, which is funny. Like going one and done, regardless of what round, just sucks.
Imagine if they had gone one and done, but like the Sun Belt set it up where the top 2 seeds made it to the championship game regardless.
That would have just been horrible. Like you get blown out. You're like, oh man, what a joke.
All right. So that'll wrap things up for basketball. Let's change gears, head on over to spring football a little bit as it is underway. Football's here. Go Dudes.
Yeah, they've been competing. Seems like there's high energy based on some of the videos I've seen. They get really excited at the end of practice.
Did you drool over the weight room numbers?
There weren't that many weight room numbers. It was like 5 bench presses. So no, Emmanuel Bush benches a lot. That checks out. I was hoping for more like quarterback numbers and some squats. I'm really more of a squat guy, but they were doing bench max when they were allowed in. I thought there might be some squat numbers passed down. Have you yet to see those if they were? But yes, the linemen are able to bench a lot, which does. That checks out in my brain. Yeah, that made sense to me. I just wanted more. I wanted more.
Imagine like the 4th string wide receiver was like number 2 on the list behind Emmanuel Bush. Like the 4th string wide receiver is just pumping like 310.
I also wanted to I would have loved to know like the different philosophies of the strength coaches, because Novak last year seemed like Chesney said he didn't have a max. This year with, what is it? Grautski.
Sure.
Like Grautski. Grouts. I have to look up the pronunciation, folks. But anyway, new strength coach was from Holy Cross, has come down. He had a maxing. I'd love to know sort of like what his philosophy is with strength training compared to the other coach. It was more so a lot of like, they're fired up. They got energy. Here's what they bench, which makes sense. Good stuff. But I would be curious if at some point he would share more about his protocols and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm bummed we didn't see Joby squat because I think Joby pushing some weight.
No Joby numbers.
I'm really bummed we didn't get any Joby numbers. We did get a Joby video. He looks really hyped.
Yeah.
He looks really bought in. I'm expecting a career year out of Joby.
If we were, they really should grill Chesney at some point on why Joby wasn't getting carries until like game 9.
It is a travesty. Like, if the answer is he didn't know the playbook, I don't care because you ran plays for JC that were JC run right, JC run left. You're telling me Joby couldn't be Joby run right, Joby run left?
This man transferred in, and we were like, "Whoa, this is something."
We
said it all year. We said every week.
One of the 2 practices I was allowed into, I heard a crack of pads, and everyone go, "Oh!" And I look over, and I'm not sure if I was supposed to say this or not, but I was like, Joby Mallory just crushed some guys on the goal line. Still unsure if I was allowed to or not allowed to report on the happenings of a practice we were allowed into, but that's besides the point. Joby's a monster.
Joby's a monster. I need him getting carries. They're loaded this year, so I want some intel, man. I want intel. I know we're not going to get any intel, but I'm hoping we get some, people are sharing some interesting information because it's a team that legitimately has college football playoff aspirations. So let's, give me some info, man.
Let me in. The Eric Andre meme. Let us in.
Basically, man. I hope they open it up a little bit because fans want to know about this team, and they should because they
deserve to know.
Paper,
about this.
They're stacked.
The players deserve to have their stories. Like, there's been fantastic coverage of them, like story-wise being written.
Yeah.
But I don't see why the more isn't merrier, but that's besides the point. Where was I going with that? Joby, Sluka, Camden. Yeah.
That's what's going on.
I didn't really see much else. I'm excited to see how that running back room unfolds with Io back there. Io, Petaway doesn't, or there's still one more transfer window, but Petaway doesn't leave. Petaway doesn't leave. Joby didn't leave. Whew.
That's a crazy running back. I mean, you could do formations where you got Cam Coleman on the field, you got JC Evans on the field, you got Sluka on the field, you got all 4 running backs on the field, and then you got maybe like a lineman or 2, but they're so athletic you can just, it's positionless football. They're all just kind of running around. It's complete weaving together, weaving back and forth, weaving reverse, lateral, reverse. If they let me in, that'll be my first question to Chesney. I thought about just like reverse.
For the podcast listeners, Bennett's face there was fantastic.
I would love to see him do it. Creative formation. Oh, how much? Serious question. Not really, but how much talk do you think we're going to get like spring, summer of them using like 5 quarterbacks on the field? I feel like we're going to get some stupid, like they could put Coleman and Sluka and JC on the field at once. And then there's, of course, not going to do it.
I think we're going to get that, but I think we're also going to get it from the coaching staff. Like they are going to
they might do a tease. Yeah.
The coaching staff is going to be so out of pocket with what they say about Dylan Morris couldn't throw a football last year, and they were acting like he could be a Heisman candidate.
It is going to be pretty wild to hear him talk about.
So we're going to get
they're big Sluka guys already.
Yeah, we're going to get quotes from Chesney and Kennedy saying some crazy things about Blake Kendall. If he's still on the roster.
Yeah. Man, brutal out there.
We'll see. Anything? Oh, we got to do some rounding up of spring sports.
Yeah.
He is softball. Don't look now. They won 5 in a row at their Lakeview Book Valley tournament thing.
Then they played UVA, but.
Okay, I like to focus on the positives.
Got smoked in that one a little bit, but they're 11-10, so they're back above 500. Their RPI is pretty respectable. Honestly, outside of that opening weekend, which was like bad, fine. They're 11-5.
You know what's still? Yeah, they're 11-5. I think they're all finding their roles a little bit. Bella Hensler won't play for the rest of the season with an injury, and their pitching has been very good since this. Even in that tough opening weekend. Their pitching was good in all of those games but one.
Yeah, they've done some nice stuff. The offense is like sometimes coming to life.
Yeah.
And they have had some weird pitching once, like the Fordham game where they gave up 9 runs in the first.
Yeah, but they won that game.
But they won that game. So they're,
21 runs in the first inning of that game.
Jesus. Overall, pretty pleased with the bounce back for them. I think there should be a lot of excitement. They're doing a good job on the recruiting trail. They also opened Sunbelt play with South Alabama and Marshall, both winnable weekends. So they could get off to a nice start in conference play. You never know. You never know what happens.
You know who's not off to a good start?
Our boys. Your boys.
Don't lump me in with them anymore. Charlotte, you're right. My boys, Charlotte, they're off to a great start. Blake Gillespie threw a no-hitter against JMU and got co-American Athletic Conference Pitcher of the Week. Not sure how that happens, but that's besides the point.
JMU got cooked by our guy Sam from Middle Tennessee, though. You see his reply?
Yeah, he great interview that we had with him. Great conversation. I still stand by what I'm saying. Like, sure, you threw a lot of play. Blake Gillespie,
19 strikeouts. The ECU guy. You got to co-pitcher that.
Blake Gillespie pitched he faced the minimum and threw a no-hitter.
He walked somebody.
Yeah. And he faced the minimum because they doubled him up.
You get a double play?
Yes.
Okay, but how many strikeouts do he have? 11?
11 in a no-hitter.
Yeah, that's a lot.
11 strikeouts, 1 walk, faced the minimum. I'm sorry, that's pitcher of the week. Doing something that's only happened one other time in program history. That's pitcher of the week.
Yeah, they were a little participation trophy. 19 strikeouts is a lot though.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Lost that series. So 2 series losses here. Lost the Fairfield series, which is embarrassing, being outscored 21-2 over the final 2 games of that one. Then fell 8-4 on March 4th in a midweek against a bad Maryland team. Then backed it up with being no hit, then an 8-5 loss, a 3-2 loss, and a 5-4 loss at home against Virginia Tech yesterday on Tuesday.
Other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? I mean, they're not. I don't know, man. I don't know about this team.
And
this
then
program.
Where was ULM picked to finish? Let me look. Because ULM's typically a pretty good baseball team. No, the podcast has not ended. We're just Googling. Okay, ULM picked to finish 13th in the preseason poll.
Usually pretty good.
I thought they were usually pretty good.
They're trash. That program, respectfully, I don't need that school in the Sun Belt.
Okay, but they're coming to Harrisonburg. You got to sweep them.
Or at least win the series.
No, I don't. No, not winning the series. You've just lost back-to-back series, 2 midweeks. You're in the midst of a 7-game losing streak. Sweep them. Bring the brooms on Friday.
Can you imagine if they brought brooms? Like they're all hype fans. They have brooms, and they just like lose.
You know, Charlotte's student section does that every Sunday. If it's about to be a sweep, they bring brooms.
Does JMU baseball have a student section?
I don't think so. They would if they won. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Too early to call them dead?
Yes.
No, they're dead.
I think if they're able to just turn a very hard corner, because Sunbelt Conference play hasn't started yet. They've yet to win a road game. But if they're able to turn a corner and start stringing together wins, you still have quality win opportunities at West Virginia, home against Richmond. Richmond has been good to start this year. You have a game. You have 2 games remaining, I believe. No, just 1 against UVA. So that's a quality opportunity. And the Sun Belt has some top teams where they're going to have some good RPI win opportunities. You're just going to have to turn the corner and turn it quick.
I mean, they're absolutely not going to do it. But
no,
yes.
they're not. They're not going to do it. But I'm not saying they're dead. At 5-11, losing their last 7, have yet to win a road game. Thankfully for them, this next series is at home. So get a couple of wins, get a trio of wins, sit at 8-11. Somehow, just win out the rest of the season. I think there's a chance.
I don't know. We'll have to have a bigger talk again at the end of the season. I think kind of telling. I don't think they extended Ike after last year.
I'm shocked they didn't just sign him to a 1-year extension.
That'll probably come at the end of this year. Well, that's a new AD in town, so maybe those will stop. I don't know. It's really disappointing, I would say, to make a regional and seem like maybe a little program momentum, and then to play.
They got in as an at-large.
Right.
Getting in as an at-large, getting to a regional final.
Mm-hmm. And then you're getting smoked at home against Fairfield the next year. I don't know. It just seems like they don't. Is there anything sustainable about this program right now? I don't really think so. And that's why I've said they need to take a hard look at what they're doing. I hope they turn around. It seems like they've had some respectable pitching performances that have gotten just they haven't taken advantage of at all offensively.
I mean, in the no-hitter, you only allowed 5 runs.
They lost a game 3-2 to them. They just lost 5-4 to Virginia Tech. They're not scoring.
Yeah.
What are they averaging per game?
You have the numbers in front of you. Do
Let's
you
see.
not?
They've scored 57 runs this season, and they played 16 games. It's less than 5 a game.
Good math.
Their opponents scored 96 runs. They're also hitting 200 as a team, which is just fucking bad. They have 5. They have 5 home runs. Their opponents have 14. They're slugging .301, which is your batting average to be 301. That's just not good, man.
Huh. And more sad news. All this one isn't as sad. Maryland took down La Crosse 11-5 on Saturday. 8th ranked Maryland at home. It was the home opener. It was the second home opener. The second home opener. The second game of the season.
Hell of a save. Who was that? It was the March home opener. Always a big one for the team.
Sorry, I got 4 emails promoting this Maryland game. And so in my mind, I had just assumed it was the home.
Huge.
But it was just a big game. But they fell 11-5 in that one. Next up, it's Saturday against Vanderbilt in Nashville, Tennessee, to open up American Athletic Conference play.
That's a big one, right? That's a little bit stick it to Mark Byington if you can get it.
Stick it to Jalen Carey if you can.
If you're gonna left us.
Why I oughta?
That's a big one. I think they had one of those last year too, if I'm not mistaken, because Byington left right after the season, and they played Vanderbilt, won 17-8 in April. So this would be another chance just to really show him what he's missing
On the lacrosse field.
Yeah, that's a big one as far as I'm concerned.
Then after that, they're against number 15 Virginia on Wednesday. So between now and the next time we podcast, could potentially play 2 games. They go 2-0 in those. That's awesome. But the team 4-2 is very strong. It is a top end team. An 11-5 loss against a top 10 Maryland squad makes sense. JMU is probably a top 10 team in the country. A competitive game. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some.
I want to revisit my take where I said, they're probably the 6th best team in the country. I want to go a little farther back, but I reserve the right to change at any point again this year.
Okay. So do you still think they're a top 6 team in the country? Or
I'll say right now they're top 12.
Okay. The UVA win. UVA is currently ranked 15th. How does that move them up or down at all if they win?
Yeah, you win that one, I'll move you top 10. You lose that one, I'll move you to 17th.
Okay. Johns Hopkins is coming up on March 26th.
That's going to be a huge one. Yeah, I can't even think that far out, but that'll be absolutely massive.
Pretty big for him. Pretty big for JMU to have Maryland ranked, Virginia ranked, Johns Hopkins ranked, all at home.
Yeah, this program rules. So good for them.
It really does. All right. Anything else you got to add?
No, I just love to see, I'd love to see baseball start doing that. Like, why not bring SEC teams to Harrisonburg all season? You know what I mean?
I would love to see baseball start winning.
Big week for baseball. Women's golf, 2nd out of 13 teams at the Puerto Rico Shootout. Just wanted to update that. Very strong finish there.
Didn't that one player do really well?
Yes. True freshman. I guess we talked about this last week, didn't we?
I kind of
True freshman.
I don't think she had won the award yet.
Okay, well, she won the individual title.
An award.
Which is obviously really cool. I believe it was, sorry, I'm getting there. Hannah Rabb, Pennsylvania native from Warrior Run High School in Watsontown.
Oh, was that your rival high school in Pennsylvania?
I don't even know where that is.
Okay.
Business management major.
Didn't you go to the same high school as Brian Shore?
No. Alex Anzalone.
Didn't he? Alex Anzalone. Didn't you have some relation to high schools with Brian Shore?
He's from Pennsylvania.
Susquehanna, did that have something to do with it?
We had classes together.
No. Okay, never mind. I don't know why. I thought, okay. But Alex Anzalone, okay, the Detroit Lions linebacker.
Yeah, Alex Anzalone, you know, we used to work out a lot together. So
is he your age?
He's a year older than me.
Oh, so he's old.
Yeah, he's a real old guy.
Just like you. I don't know if Bennett knows we're still on the podcast.
Are you there?
Stumbled upon a little dog.
Do you want to come on the podcast?
She doesn't want to come on the podcast.
Okay.
That's okay. That's all right.
All right. Bennett, anything else you got to add?
No, I got nothing else.
Okay. For Bennett Conlon, I'm
Get
Jack
the poop?
Fitzpatrick. Bailey, right? Bailey's the dog's name?
Yeah, Bailey wants to go poop.
For Bailey,
Okay.
thank you for listening to the JMU Sports News Podcast presented by Bet Online. I didn't do the Bet Online read at the beginning. I'm going to have to add that in post.
You add that.
Have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya.
She's got to poop. I'll be back.